You guys went through a really difficult period with so many of the top guys getting knocked out. And
it was actually the summer was probably the worst part. The summer was actually the most challenging time because it was a 1-week period where the 3 biggest free agent signings of the entire year went down in about 4 days.
Yeah, it was crazy.
We had Adam Cole, Bryan Danielson, and CM Punk all get hurt with major injuries in 4 or 5 day period. From 4 days, from Sunday to Wednesday, we lost all 3 of them to injury. And they were our 3 biggest free agents we had signed ever at that point. And they had really helped keep the company so strong. And then when they got injured last summer, we had to rally, and the company came together. And I mentioned Jon Moxley, of course, Chris Jericho, and so many others came in and worked so hard. And the roster expanded. New people came in, people like Samoa Joe, Claudio Castagnoli, and many others. And now we've hit this point where the show has just clicked. And even with all the challenges and with injured stars, the roster is so strong right now. And that's why the shows have been so good this year.
What was that like for you? Because, of course, everybody knows you are in charge of the creative, too. So having all that happen all at one time, how difficult was that for you? And I'm sure you had plans ready to go.
It was so difficult, and I did have plans ready to go. It made the road to Forbidden Door and to All Out very challenging. So I had to do some different things to get to those pay-per-views than I originally intended. And the injuries forced me to change plans on the build to Forbidden Door, which ended up still being one of the best shows I've ever seen. And I think in many of the year-end polls will be elected the best wrestling show of the year. But it was a real challenge to get there, and some of the matches were different than what we originally intended. And so much of the build was completely different than what we'd intended. A lot of the matches would have looked very different, and the TV would have looked very different on the road to Forbidden Door without those injuries. And then All Out was the same thing. The road to All Out was very challenging, but coming out of All Out, we had great ratings and a lot of new faces on TV. And now the roster is in such a great place where the last month, the shows have been not only well received by the fans critically, but also commercially very successful. And that's why we've seen this big bump in ratings and our biggest viewership in a long time, I think, based on the quality of the shows and really positive word of mouth about AEW right now.